Hey guys, it's Skybird, and I've got a good one for you here. Now, this is just a work in progress so far, but I'm super excited about this because this is honestly one of my favorite mechanisms I've ever come up with so far, and it is for the Sky Tyrant. The Sky Tyrant is a Wyvern type build, dragon type build. I don't know if I pronounced that right, by the way. I apologize. But essentially, two front wings, two rear legs, a tail, and a head. I'm really excited for this build as well, and I didn't plan to start it so soon, but yeah, I don't know what else to say. Let's just get right on into it. Oh, before we do, I guess if you enjoy the videos, if you enjoy the channel, make sure you subscribe. It really helps out a lot, and we have continued to grow, so let's keep heading in that direction, I guess. All right. So this is where I'm at so far. It's just a skeleton for the build, nothing too fancy going on, but I have a lot planned for this, and I'm so happy with where things are right now. Currently, you can see that there's this clunky mechanism on the bottom, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Right now, with it in this folded up mode, it just moves the neck. It doesn't do anything terribly fancy, but I say folded up because this whole thing can unfold. And when it's unfolded, suddenly the wings can flap with that mechanism, and then of course the neck moves along with it as well. It's not necessary to move the neck, of course. I added a lift arm in the actual body here as well if I wanted to attach the neck there instead, just in case these cause me any sort of issues in terms of weight, right? Because the head is going to weigh that down, the wings are going to weigh that down, and there's just the one rubber band pulling on that. So I do want to make sure that it works out really well and stays together. But all in all, I'm really happy with where it is at so far. Currently, two ball joints on the front here. That can be swapped out for just one if that works better for the head, or I could not maximize, add to that if I want to do other things there as well, because that's the nice thing about having a skeleton is you have something very easy to work on. The other thing I wanted to mention is right now the actual folding feature is just used by squeezing these linkages or unfolding these linkages. But you can see this yellow slider here. That's originally what I was using. It did cause some problems with locking up, so I think I'm going to play around with that a little bit so that maybe I can try and retrieve that again. And that way I can attach maybe a plate on the back of this that I can slide forward and backward, and that opens and closes the wings. I think that's a really cool idea. My first thought was having a button on the model, but because I want to actually mount a character on top of this, I didn't want a button to be on top getting in the way of that, right? And so if I make it too far remote, then that's more linkages, more pieces and stuff like that. This ended up just working out, honestly, the best for me. Along with all of that, though, you'll see on the bottom side here, we have this Makuta torso. Those blue friction pins can actually be replaced with axles, so I can put Hordika necks on here, and that would give me two ball joints on the body for the rear legs. That way the rear legs can hold up a lot more weight for this thing, because at the end of the day, those legs are pretty far back. They're basically the end of the model, right? And so we need those legs to be strong, and we need them to come further forward, and then that tail to be long and reasonably hefty as well. I do have my swooshable tail, which is the tail that I designed for Calterex, and it's also built off the design of my bow snake, one of my very first Rahi designs I ever made, which is literally just designed to be like those old wooden snake toys where it slinks back and forth, right? And so I figure since I already have that mechanism, that design down, yeah, use it for Calterex for his tail. Why not also use it here? Is it repetitive? Sure. But is it a good fit for this? I like to think so. Honestly, I'm really happy with where this is going. My idea is that this is going to be a dark green mock, so wherever I can attach dark green, I will try to do so. Obviously, these lift arms do appear in dark green, these ones here as well, so I'd like to put that in as much as possible. However, if dark green ends up being a limiting color, there are obviously a plethora of other colors that I can also utilize. Dark blue is another option. Because Calterex is blue, I wanted to avoid that though, just because, again, this is a fairly large flying dragon, which is not unlike a dinosaur, right? Yes, they're different creatures. Yes, one of them is mythological, but at the end of the day, it's a flying reptile essentially versus a land reptile. And if they're both blue, that's not terribly exciting. So I figure adding dark green on this also gives me the option to actually give it the headpiece in dark green as well. I don't have those headpieces finished in design. Rather, I just kind of mocked them up in studio, and basically just took the fin rack head and stretched it out. So I plan on probably showing that one off tomorrow. I'm not like super happy with it, so I'll probably play around with it a bit more in Blender as well, just so I can come up with a shape that I like. But overall, really happy with how dynamic these wings are, how much they move with actually pretty little movement of the trigger, to be honest. So just all in all, super happy about how things are working out here so far. I really couldn't have expected this to go better, honestly. And there's so much potential for it because there's still so many open spots to connect things to. And the idea is that, the wings themselves are mostly going to be cloth. So it makes sense, in my opinion, since cloth is sort of the gimmick here, to use that as sort of weight reduction, right? Because why do I want it to be heavier? I don't need it to be. There's no use for that. So the idea, is that I'll take some cloth pieces, maybe add some other structural pieces in the wings as well, but it's honestly not even super necessary. It's a very simple mechanism in terms of the way that it works, basically just being a weirdly shaped parallelogram, right? And so it gives you a very predictable movement, and it works honestly great. It's kind of like a scissor mechanism if you're familiar with those. So really happy with how this one is going. Another color. So someone suggested in the comments. I don't remember if it was here or if it was on Discord, but they had suggested to actually try to utilize rare colors, which is something I would want to do, but I have to play it kind of strategic. Because here's the thing: rare colors are fun to play with, but they're inherently limiting, right? Because if I'm treating this as though Lego was producing this as a series, then those rare colors have to get support, right? Think of a color like magenta, for example. There's basically one Bionicle adjacent piece in the magenta color. It is the Ben 10 claw, which is the 3-fingered claw in that magenta. Several other pieces appear in that color as well, several lift arms, thankfully, from Technic, but at the end of the day, that's a very limiting color. So if I were to create a set based around that color, I'd want to make sure that I have a lot of it there, just because if I don't, and you're getting 2, 3, 4 magenta pieces, well, that's not very fun for you to use in your collection, right? But if I want to use a color like dark orange, and I create a figure that has a heavy use of dark orange, maybe a limb, a foot, very similar to how it was handled in the Vorox set, for example, or the Akar set, those sets essentially are our support for those colors, right? Akar introduces a lot of red, and Vorox introduces a lot of tan to the Anika building system. So that's kind of the direction I would want to go in. If I can play it smart, if I can strategize my color budget, if you want to call it that, then I can absolutely introduce a rare color or two, or maybe even more. But it's really just about sort of balancing things. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy this one. I didn't expect it to be quite so long, but I had a lot to talk about, and I'm really excited about it. And hopefully you guys had a happy holidays, and I will see you all next time. So if you want to check out more stuff like this, take a look at my Discord. You can find that and my Instagram, as well as Patreon, if you want to support the channel and get some perks, in the description below. And of course, you want to carry on the conversation in the comments, I'll be reading those too. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.